If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Oh, typo. Whoops. Welcome everybody to session number 4 of Changing the World with Tom French. Hey, thanks for joining us. So we're going to be looking at chapter 9, which is called Let Little Children Get Lost. This chapter connects to the passage Mark 10:13-16. So if you haven't read this passage yet, please stop this video, read that through, and then continue on with this session. So let's get straight into some questions with Tom. So Tom, what is the significance of the child in this passage receiving the kingdom?
Yeah, well, I think the significance is that often in Jesus' day, children were not people who had much power, kind of like the way that we might treat pets these days. Like, we love our pets, but they don't have heaps of power in the world. And kids, they were important, but not super important like they are these days. So Jesus picked kids to come and sit down and say, these are important people.
So good. So leading on from that, this passage talks a lot about kind of power, and so does your chapter. So what do you think this story has to tell us about when we do have power, when we have all these strengths or an authoritative position? What can we learn from this passage?
Yeah, well, what's really interesting is that the disciples were trying to stop the kids from getting to Jesus, and they felt like they were in this position of power, and they didn't want the kids to get to Jesus, who was a powerful person. And for us, I think the challenge for us is to look at how Jesus responds to the powerless person with him, that he blesses them, he cares for them, and he is the most powerful person in the world. And in the story of Jesus, we see that he uses his power not to lord it over people, not to get rich and powerful, but to serve people. He washes the disciples' feet when the Bible tells us that he has all the power in the world, which is actually just a picture of what he's about to go and do when he goes and dies on the cross. And so we need to look at our lives and go, well, where do I have power? In relationships, at school, when I'm with my younger siblings, or with pets even. Where do I have power, and how can I use that not to make myself feel good, not to make myself get in good positions where I'm looked after, but where can I use that power to serve other people and care for other people? Because I've seen the way Jesus used his power for me. How can I use my power for other people?
Such a beautiful picture of Jesus with all of the power in the world, as you said, but using that to serve others. And such a beautiful one. Thank you for that. So Tom, I would say that a lot of people, including myself, have had people in our lives that have really misused power, which has left me or left some of us feeling powerless. So what would this story teach us about when we don't have power, when we're kind of knocked down a bit?
Yeah, what's really great about this story is that you see the way that Jesus, as he welcomes in the child who was one of the most powerless people in their society and who were being mistreated by the disciples, he holds them up as an example of how we should be in relationship to God. And when we look at what happened to Jesus, that Jesus in his life, he chose a position of powerlessness. And when he chose that position, people misused their power against him, that he was mistreated and he was abused. And through that, though, we see how much he loves us and how much he cares for us. And as we're in positions sometimes where we feel powerless, where people might treat us badly, obviously we should do things about it. We should talk to people in charge. If we're being abused, we definitely need to talk about that and share that. Don't keep that a secret. But the other thing to know is that Jesus knows what you're going through. He understands it. He has been abused himself. People have mistreated him, and he knows what it's like, and he identifies with you in that. So as you feel powerless, you can know that Jesus was powerless as well, and he's with you in it. And the other great thing about powerlessness is, and this is a bit different from the when people mistreat you, but sometimes we feel powerless, and it's not because of what other people do, but we just feel powerless. And that's sometimes something that we can hold on to, because the truth is that in many ways we are powerless. We don't have control over our lives, over the future or the world, or even our relationship with God. But God, in our powerlessness, has chosen to love us and care for us. And just like a child is like, well, I've got no power, but I'm going to trust my parents. We can say, I might not have power, but I can trust my God who loves me. I know that he cares for me. And so I know that he will look after me even when I'm feeling powerless and I don't have any control.
Amen to that. So good, so good. Thank you so much, Tom. I think so, guys, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for joining in, and we really hope that this was a real encouragement to you to break down this passage. But yeah, in the meantime, we'll give you some discussion questions that you can chat through, and maybe some things will come up that you can talk about. But yeah, guys, massive blessings, and we'll see you next week.